Today we're going to bake with a slow burner, and I have a bottle of oil here. Here's my little stove. It's a slow burner that I have created out of a Mountain Dew can. My fuel mixing container, and also the stove fits right in there. A lid for easy carrying. This is my pot support. I'm going to use some corn muffin mix. I have a pan with a lid that fits well, and water, pot lifter, and I use heat as my fuel today. Some matches. So we're going to get started by putting some fuel into my stove and getting it lit. Now after you've let the stove prime for a while and get some heat, just squirt a little oil in there. You can see it's kind of smoking here, so I've got a good little hot pot here, and I'm going to swirl it around a little bit, this oil, so it can come out decent. Oh, my batter is pretty stiff. Now, you can hear it sizzle when it hits the pan. You know you've got a nice hot pan. And stick the lid on there. And I can feel some pretty decent heat coming off of this thing. Now, the windscreen on. Just a little partial. We don't want to cut off our air supply. It is a slow burner, so we're going to make this cornbread and see what happens. This is my first time trying it, actually cooking with it. So, one hand on the camera, one hand cooking. Now, this lid is very hot, which is what you want. You're simulating an oven here. And all this is pretty simple equipment with just simple tools. And we're not going to lift this lid for a little while here. Give it about maybe 5 minutes. And then we'll check our cake here, a little cornbread cake, and see what's going on. So I've used about half of this box of Jiffy Mix corn muffin mix. It's an 8.5 ounce box. I put it into here, and about a 1/4 cup of water, make a stiff batter, some oil for the bottom of the pan. Now if you have a good sense of smell, which cooks should develop, I can smell that cornbread baking right now, and it's smelling pretty decent. Now I smelt it starting to get a little bit of a burnt smell, just a little bit, so I took it off the fire, and it's still got the lid on it. It's quite hot. And I still have a little bit of fuel left in that burner, so I had plenty to cook this. I'm just going to leave it sit, as you do with a raised bread like this. And we're going to turn it out of here in a little while, see what we got. But right now it is still cooking. We still have a very hot lid, so we'll get the center of that cooked, and then we'll turn it out and see what it looks like. Okay, so now we're going to lift the lid and touch the cake, and it springs back. It's very, very soft and delicious looking. So let's just turn this over. Okay, you want to get your pot hot but not smoking. I did that the first time, and it got a little too done on the bottom, but it tastes wonderful. But the idea is not to burn it. Now you may have to go around the edges with a knife to help get it out. And it may not all come out in one piece. And there's my first cake. It didn't take long, but I'm going to have to work on this because it's still stuck to the bottom a little bit here. And it is delicious. And I just used water with this mix. And we do have a cake here. It's not exactly perfect, but boy, it tastes good. So I'm making this little pancake with the slow burner stove. And it's just get your oil warmed up in that pan before you add anything to it. And it looks like it's about ready to flip. So sometimes it's about having the right equipment. And I'm thinking as though I were a ultralighter or something in the backcountry. So I'm going to flip this with a spatula. And that's not a bad looking pancake. Now I'm cooking a little bit on the slope, and you can see that the pancake wants to run to one side. And this is my second pancake. Put enough fuel in that stove, you can just keep cooking, and your pan will stay hot. If it gets too hot, you just take the pan off the burner. And you can see in there maybe that it's cooking away. Now, if you don't have a lid for the pot that you want to use, just use aluminum foil. And a great ultralighter's trick is to use your gloves that you're going to have along anyway, or mittens, as a pot holder. You don't really have to have a pot gripper. It just weighs I don't know, an ounce or something. You can use your glove. But if your glove gets wet, that's going to steam and be really hot. So pot grippers are good. I've got one here since I'm home playing with this idea. So we've got a cake going on in there, and it's going to take a little longer. Pot with a greater surface area, we've spread out the batter, and this should allow it to cook. Try to get an even surface when you're setting up so that your cake will cook evenly. One of the important tricks with baking with something like this is to be sure that you don't burn it first before it has a chance to get set up. Now, there's still heat on the bottom here, I'm feeling, which means it's still cooking. Turn this out in just a minute, give it a chance to rest. Now this is a very rustic prototype of the slow burner soda can stove, and I just made a little cake with it. So we're going to pot support.